Welcome to the Confident Intuitive mini-guidebook training session. This is week 1, and we're talking about intuition and reality. If you're following along with the booklet, you'll find that under intuition and reality, there's a small paragraph that says, understanding the mechanics of physical and non-physical reality and the structure of the soul can help you clearly define intuition and how it works. If you haven't picked up your workbook yet, you can do that using the link below so that you can follow along with the PDF in regards to what we're talking about in this mini training. Use this as a guide and workbook and use it as a jumping off place. Follow what resonates for you. Look into what you like and investigate further. There are no wrong paths when following your intuition. There tends to be a paradigm for those who've experienced standardized education to feel safer with step-by-step instructions. That is not what this is. I don't teach using step-by-step instructions. I will never tell you you have to do something specific in order to get your result. We are following the uncharted path in this class. Play around with what you're learning and follow what resonates with you. Trust your intuition to lead you down the path of least resistance and experience life as your soul intended. The mini guidebook / workbook has questions that we're going to use as a jumping off point for conversation, as well as a page of some of the ideas that I want to put forth for you to investigate. Let's start with the questions. Intuition and reality. What is your definition of intuition? It is incredibly important for you to recognize what is your definition of intuition. Is it something that only spiritual people have? Do only men or women specifically have it? Is it something that only comes about in emergency situations? Is it only to help you in avoiding fearful or harmful situations? Really investigate what is your definition. My definition has evolved over the years. It started with something that didn't even involve me. Like, I wasn't intuitive. I was just who I was. And intuition had no place in my life. I've evolved to the point where now I look at intuition as an intersection between the non-physical and physical worlds. It's almost like a translation device where information is coming through from the non-physical realm, and it's got to have some kind of translation device for us in our physical perspective to realize and recognize it. So it's translating non-physical vibration into an idea or a thought or a sensation or a feeling or an inkling that the physical body can recognize. So again, what is your definition? Write it down. Make this something that you are investigating. Recognize how your definition gets upgraded and changes depending on what you learn and how you integrate the information. The second question is, what is the structure of reality as you understand it to be? We all have different ideas about how we think this reality gets structured. My version of how reality is structured, it is a projection of your non-physical consciousness, and it is an organization of ideas. It is a filtration of belief systems. It is a 3-dimensional version of what is happening inwardly. It is a reflection of how we're feeling on any given day. How does intuition function to help guide you? Intuition guides you because it is always looking out for your benefit. It is you, literally you. And I'm going to talk about this more when I talk about how your soul and intuition are connected next. But it is part of your non-physical consciousness. It is part of your connection to other beings, vibrations, entities. It is also an opportunity for them to communicate with you this way. Higher beings, higher self, soul beings, if you want to use the term alien beings, anything that is able to utilize and understand the intuitive mechanism can communicate with you through this intuitive vehicle. Intuition is a guidance mechanism. It is going to reach you through the path of least resistance. I talk a lot about this. In fact, it's the basis of the book that I just wrote. The book is called The Halfways, a guidebook to strengthening your intuitive connection. I called it The Halfways because every single one of us is halfway between physical and non-physical. If I were to tell you that we're actually all non-physical and no physical, it wouldn't resonate with you. Most people don't think that way. Most people don't think in terms of, yes, we're actually completely non-physical, having the illusion of a physical experience. So instead of using that perspective, let's just use the one that says we're halfway. We're halfway between non-physical and halfway between physical. I talk a lot about, the whole book is about helping you strengthen your intuitive connection. The guidance that it gives you will always use the path of least resistance. What is the path of least resistance? That depends on you. It depends on your beliefs. It depends on how you're feeling. It depends on your state of being. It depends on that moment. But whatever that moment is for you, it will follow the path of least resistance. It will find its way in, no matter what. So you don't need to worry about whether my intuition is working or not. Your intuition is always working. It's only a matter of, do I understand how it is coming through me? What is my path of least resistance? Perhaps you believe that men do not have intuition and only women have intuition, and you are assigned male at birth. So you're like, I must not be intuitive. That's part of my definition. Then you're going to miss all of the signs that are coming through you. Maybe you believe that intuition can only come through in emergency situations because that's your definition. The path of least resistance is going to be to come through you when you're feeling as if you're in fight or flight, perhaps. Maybe that's the path of least resistance, right? But then you don't believe it because you're like, oh, I only get those signs and signals when I'm having high levels of anxiety or emergency situations. So you're going to miss all the other times that it's coming through. But it will always be coming through you. And your job is to learn how it feels when it comes through. The biggest misconception that I think humans have is that we're supposed to look at the ideas or even the modality in which intuition uses to get a hold of us. I would encourage you to base your identification of an intuitive idea on how it feels for you. Not necessarily anxiety. I'm not guiding you toward anxiety. I'm guiding you towards the subtle, unique resonance of intuitive ideas for you. Let's say you have the idea to cook a certain meal for dinner, and it's an intuitive idea, and you only realize it in hindsight because the person who decided to come over for dinner, it's their favorite meal, and you had no idea until, you'd cook the meal and they'd come over. But your job is to figure out, well, what did that feel like? Right? What is the subtle nature of that feeling? Maybe you have the inclination to wear a certain jacket to this party that you're going to. And when you get there, you realize that, oh, this other person needed to see you wearing that jacket because they wanted to know where it's from, and you can give them the information. Your job is to figure out what that sensation was that led you to that conclusion, that guided you towards that idea. How are the soul and intuition connected? I want to share a very, very interesting idea with you. This idea has flipped my world upside down. I now go to this idea whenever I want to understand anything regarding my physical experience. Most people look at the idea of the soul as something that is entering and exiting the body. And I don't know what time you determine the entrance is. People have different ideas about when the soul enters the body as they see it, or exit the body as they see it. I'm saying that the soul doesn't enter or exit the body. What I'd like to give to you is the idea that the physical experience is encapsulated within the soul energy. If you think of the soul as an infinite ball of energy, and I know infinite and ball are conflicting ideas, because if you imagine that it's a ball, it then has walls around it. It has a place where the energetic resonance stops and external reality exists, but whatever works for you. Whether it's just a plane of energy that extends forever, or it's a spherical ball of energy. That is the concept that I'm calling the soul, is this resonance of energy. Within that energy, the soul decides it wants to have a particular experience, a particular physical dimensionality experience. So it takes a portion, a very small portion of its infinite energy, and it concentrates it down to a particular vibration. The vibration is equivalent to physical reality. And it creates for itself an encapsulation of that energy that is happening within itself, in the same way that our organs exist within the self, the physical self, right? They're encapsulated within the body. Or you could think of it like Russian nesting dolls. There's an encapsulation of one experience within the other. Whatever works for you. The soul is having the physical experience within itself. Intuition is a communication between the soul and the idea of the physical experience that's happening within the confines of that soul experience. A soul can dial in on a particular idea of what it would like to create for itself. So if you look at these two different ideas, the soul entering and exiting the body, as if the soul comes from somewhere and goes from somewhere, versus the soul being a resonance, a golden ball of light, an intelligence that decides I would like to have a particular experience, and so I'm going to create that within myself for the purpose of expanding myself, for the joy of the experience. And I'm going to use intuition as a communication device. So the physical reality experience is happening within the soul itself. And intuition is offering the communication between these two unique perspectives. How do the higher self, spirit guides, angels, and transitioned loved ones use intuition as a communication device? If you look at my explanation of how the soul operates and creates the physical experience, it then makes sense that the non-physical aspect of you is the broader part of you. That broader aspect of you is non-physical. So it has direct communication with this idea of higher self, spirit guides, angels, transitioned loved ones. They're all on the same plane as the soul. They have a direct one-to-one relationship with the non-physical aspects that we just talked about here. Spirit guides, angels, transitioned loved ones. They all get access to this intuitive communication, this portal, if you will, if intuition was a portal. They have access to this portal that can deliver vibrational information that gets translated to the physical experience that's happening inside the encapsulation instantly. There's no delay because you are a non-physical being having the physical experience happen within yourself. So there's no delay and there's no limitation to who can access this. The love-based beings that want to communicate with you simply need to offer up information, and it gets communicated to you through the lens of intuition. What is the formula And how does it help me better connect and trust my intuition? So I'm not going to take credit for this formula. It comes from an entity known as Bashar. I have been listening to Bashar for many years, and this is the information that they share with us. I have a specific way which I translate it and offer it, the analogies that I use, the ways that I describe it. I intimately understand how this works and how this functions, and I use it in my own life. So I want to offer it to you as a tool. The formula goes like this. Follow your highest level of excitement to the best of your ability in any moment that you are given the options that you're given. Follow them as far as you can take them until you can't take them any farther. Don't demand that the excitement or the outcome has to be something specific, and stay in a positive mindset no matter what. So let's break this down a little bit. When we talk about following the highest level of excitement, sometimes people automatically jump to, ooh, I have to know what my life's purpose is, or it has to be a very big mission, or change the world. They think in terms of grandiose ideas, and that this must mean that if I'm following my excitement, it's got to be passion. It's got to be amazing. I need to find enlightenment. They think of it in these large, broad concepts. It might be that, or it might be, what color socks do I wear today? Which grocery store do I go to? Who do I call next? Do I take a sick day because I feel really terrible, or do I go into work because they're demanding I come in? Like, there are choices that you are making in every single moment of every single day. And the degree to which something is slightly more exciting than the other, or slightly more interesting, or slightly more amenable to you, you want to think in gradations. We're not looking to use this only for how do I change the world and what am I supposed to be doing with my life, or what is my big theme in life. Apply this formula for everything. What do I have for breakfast? Is cereal more exciting than oatmeal? Every moment is an opportunity to grade what is more exciting than another option, and then choose that more exciting thing and follow it. Take it as far as you can take it till you can't take any farther. And then make sure you're not demanding that excitement, that interest, that curiosity has to be something specific. Another example might be, maybe you want to become an author and you want to write a specific kind of book, and that feels very exciting to you. So you get started by following the most exciting idea in regards to, are you going to read more books and figure out story beats? Are you going to take a class from someone? Are you just going to start journaling and writing and getting ideas on paper? One of the important things is not to demand that initial excitement has to become something specific. Maybe you don't actually write a book. Maybe the whole purpose was to get you journaling so that you had more self-reflection. If you're not insisting that initial excitement has to become something specific, you're more open to the flow of what you're actually supposed to be guided towards. That initial excitement may not be the end result. It may be your intuition leading you towards a particular idea, a particular situation, so that you can then be recalibrated for the actual experience that you're looking for. If you're demanding that, oh, my excitement about writing means that I have to write a book, then you're putting stoppers on it. And then you're slowing the process down, because maybe that isn't the end result for you. Maybe it isn't what you're supposed to be doing. But the path of least resistance was to guide you through that particular idea because for whatever reason, you were open to it. So intuition came through and said, well, let's write a book. You think it's though, gee, I have to publish a book or become a best-selling author or make a book that becomes into a Netflix series. We make assumptions about what the excitement is supposed to be, But I want to guide you to not do that because it'll stop things from happening in the flow. And you want to be in the flow. You want things to lead organically one step to another. So follow your highest level of excitement. Take it as far as you can take it from the choices that you have before you. Don't invent stuff. Don't stop yourself because you're like, oh, I don't have the option that I really want, so I can't move forward. Like maybe I really wanted to make chicken parmesan tonight, but I don't have chicken, so I have to make tofu. Don't let the idea that you don't have something, you don't have the chicken in the fridge, stop you. You follow the highest level of excitement. Take it as far as you can take it. You can't take it any farther, right? Maybe you don't make chicken parmesan. Maybe you make something amazing in tofu, but the idea led you to the ultimate result. Stay in a positive mindset no matter what happens. This is the most difficult thing for humans to do, myself included. We grab onto ideas and we think things are supposed to be a specific way. And that causes us to be confused, to be frustrated, to get angry. When something doesn't look like we think it's supposed to look in our head, we often get confused and angry and upset. We feel like we've failed. We miss an opportunity to see what is really there for us, what lesson, what opportunity, what next steps, because we are demanding it's supposed to be something, and then we get negative about it. We get upset. We get angry. We get anxious. We get sad. We feel like we're not enough. I heard something the other day that I'm going to share with you that made a lot of sense to me. As humans, we often talk a lot about the feelings that we have. And growing up, if you were allowed to express the feelings, sadness, anger, resentment, jealousy, at least you were allowed to recognize it. But oftentimes, it doesn't complete the circuit. There's no loop there. There's no finishing. There's no grounding the idea. We just have these emotions and we don't know what to do with them. But if you ask yourself, or you invite yourself to entertain the idea that I am choosing fear. I have other choices. Other people are making different choices with this information. Like some people might feel positive about it. Some people might feel something other than positive, right? But I'm feeling negative about this idea, this experience. But I am choosing to feel negative. You regain your sense of power, and it grounds the idea. It diminishes the power of the negativity and the idea that we have no control over it, that we just get stuck in negativity. I am choosing to feel. Now, don't get caught in self-blame. Don't make this a self-blame opportunity. I'm not saying, ooh, it's your fault. You are an energetic being having a physical experience encapsulated within the soul energy who is exploring all ideas, negative, positive, and neutral. The whole purpose for being in the physical experience is to walk through negative experiences, to know that it isn't thrust upon us by some unknown force, that we're not being forced to feel a certain way. I'm choosing to feel upset about XYZ. I can choose to feel another way. And maybe that's today. Maybe that's tomorrow. Maybe that's another day. But this opportunity to recognize the choice releases you from victimhood. I don't have to feel this way. Nobody is saying I have to feel this way, but I'm choosing to feel this way. And in choosing to feel this way, I'm recognizing my own power. Again, this is not blame. This is not victimhood. I'm not saying punish yourself. Just open yourself up to your own power, that you are creating this experience. If you haven't read the Seth books by Jane Roberts, I welcome you to experience the Seth book. Seth was an entity that was channeled by Jane Roberts in the 60s and 70s. And Seth said, you create your own reality. To me, that makes so much sense when you take it from the idea that the soul decided to encapsulate a small portion of itself, to densify a small portion of itself, holistic self, to have a specific experience with the idea of disconnection. And with that idea of disconnection, you will experience what we perceive as negativity. That makes so much sense. I chose to do this because I would learn so much about my own power and about choice. That makes me feel good. So those are the ends of the questions in the mini guidebook. And the next page after that has a couple different paragraphs to think about. So I'll read that to you now. The above questions are intended to open up new ideas and perspectives. I'll share my thoughts regarding intuition and how it functions, and you'll share yours. Now, this is based on the idea that we're having communication and conversation. And we can have that if you want to leave questions. That's a form of communication and conversation. I can answer some of those questions for you. I am an experienced and educated spiritual guide. I call myself a spiritual teacher. But you can take or leave what I share in this mini class. Your intuition is the real teacher, and it is to be followed above all else, above all teachers, above all of those famous people who you are looking towards, who are claiming to have the way to find your healing, the way to find your relief, the way to find your sense of enlightenment. Maybe they have ideas that you can pick and choose, but you need to follow your intuition. Physical reality mirrors your active beliefs. We're going to talk about those in one of the next week's lessons. We'll expose some of your limiting beliefs about intuition, allowing you to shift in real time. Again, this mini guide is based on actual conversation, right? You and I talking, you and I conversing about your real-time ideas. Understanding that you are a soul creating a physical experience versus a physical being who contains a soul dramatically shifts your POV to one that better incorporates intuitive inclinations, hunches, ideas, and thoughts. So that's this week's mini lesson. I hope that this provides you with something to engage with, ideas to think about. Maybe some of these ideas resonate. Maybe some of them don't. That is completely okay. I would love for you to get to a point where you are following your intuitive rhythm, your intuitive ideas. And the most important idea I can share with you is that focus on how it feels for you. When intuitive ideas or hunches or inclinations come through to you, how does it feel? Sort through this until you get to the resonance of intuition. Now, I'll tell you, intuition is not fear-based. So if you're feeling fear around intuition, that's a false connection. Intuition is based on love. It's based on the resonance of helping you expand in a positive sense. It is never a negative communication. That's a misunderstanding and misinterpretation. So get familiar with the tonality, with the sensuality, with the vibrational essence of what it feels like for intuitive ideas to come through you. Think back through your life when you were a child, when you were an adolescent, when you were in early adulthood, and you had a confirmed intuitive hit, a confirmed intuitive idea. What was the base resonance of that idea? Invite it to expand itself. Invite it to be more known within you. The reason I tell you to focus on the feeling is because then you are not confused by the modalities of communication. If you get an idea and you're not sure whether it's an intuitive hit, if you know what intuitive feels like, you can then tune into that. If you know what an intuitive idea feels like, you're not confused whether a hunch or an inclination or a particular way of thinking is or is not intuition. Base it on how it feels. This will take practice over time because we live in a time-space reality. It invites you to, over time, become more and more familiar with the resonance And the resonance is decoded by how it feels. It will have a particular sensorial feel specific to you. And that's how you're going to identify intuition when it comes through that's how you will identify intuition when it's coming through different modalities. Modality of thought, the modality of a hunch, the modality of an inclination, the modality of a sensation, different physical modalities. Then you will know for sure, and you will get better and better and better at identifying it when it comes through, the moment it comes through. I'll give you an example. I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and it was based on a kind of strenuous situation. And in speaking to this person, I gave them the advice that they didn't need to worry about this other individual, that this other individual, while seemingly having so many difficulties, was going to be fine, and that we don't create for ourselves any situation that we can't handle. In giving that advice, I felt a specific sensation and knew that advice was for me specifically, even though I was speaking it to someone else. So I knew that my intuition was giving me a speech. There's nothing you can't handle. You are not giving yourself anything you can't handle. And it gave me a sense of peace, knowing that my particular difficulties and challenges that felt overwhelming at the time were perfect. They were exactly what I was supposed to be encountering. So you will get better and better at identifying the feeling of intuition. I'll give you one more fun fact, and that's about visualization. So many people have been trained to think that visualization is for the purpose of seeing what you're supposed to be experiencing. I've heard it a lot in personal development claimed as, see it and then you can be it. So this idea that somehow if you can use your imagination to engage an idea, create an idea, that is the idea that will be for you. So many people strive for creating the vision, and in doing so, they're oftentimes complicating their path. One, because they have demanded that their path lead to something specific, and two, because that's not the purpose of visualization. Visualization is for the purpose of getting yourself into a specific vibration. It's not in order to see something to create that specific something. So if thinking about becoming a veterinarian makes you feel joyful, authentically excited, that is the vision you hold. If it makes you feel anxious, don't hold the vision. Maybe you're not supposed to become a veterinarian. If communicating with your grandma, who you haven't spoken to in 5 years because she has been out of the country, feels like a really exciting idea, and you're like, oh, I'm going to write her some letters. And you're not writing her letters to engage with her on a specific print level. You're simply writing them because it makes you feel excited. Do it. Don't do it so that you can converse with your grandma. Do it because it makes you feel excited. I know that's kind of a weird situation. I just sort of made it up in my head. I'm trying to get you to consider the idea that visualization is not for creating that specific vision. Visualization is a functionality helping you get in a specific vibration. So if you're a goal setter and you're a vision boarder and you realize that at any point that vision or goal or idea of what you think you want causes you angst, fear, upset, frustration, you are misusing the faculty of imagination. Switch to something else, because switching to something else, another vision that helps you feel good, will actually help you create the specific scenario that your soul is looking for, which may look nothing like the thing you thought of in your head. So try not to misuse the power of visualization, if at all possible. Or just catch yourself when you're doing it and switch and be like, oh, I was thinking of this thing and I thought I had to think this thing and I thought I had to create this thing. So I made, a month's worth of goals that I had to achieve, and they all felt hard and strenuous, and I pushed through it and I did the hard work, and it all feels terrible and it's taking a really long time and nothing is happening. Well, okay, consider that you're misusing the power of visualization like so many of us do. And so many of us are trained by very wealthy people in personal development and very famous people in personal development that they somehow have figured this all out, and that's what we're supposed to do, and we do the hard work and we struggle through, and you don't need to. Just use the power of visualization to help you create a vibration within. So I hope that helps you understand the relationship between intuition and reality. Please post your questions if you have them. You can join me on my email list. You can go to my website at AllisonSutter.com and look at any resources I have there. I've got a ton of classes that I offer. I've got a ton of free resources. I've written multiple books that are available on Amazon, The Halfways, and Accelerate Your Mojo. If you are desiring to work with me personally, I would love to speak with you more about whether that option is right for you and what that entails. So send me an email and let me know what you're thinking, or just post a question below and I will try to answer it to the best of my ability. Thanks for listening. See you next week.